Hello out there, it's Julie. Today I'm going to talk about the Fool. And I am sort of challenging myself to do a video, an in depth video on all the different cards in the tarot deck. So 78 videos. Now, who knows if I will get it done, if I will do it, but the intent is there. And I hope my ADHD self follows through. Um, but I wanted to do this because I know when I started out, um, I wish I had more information about the cards and where they came from. And I'm not going to go too in depth into the history, but I just love talking tarot, and this is another way for me to talk about tarot. So if you're a beginner, I hope this helps you. If you're somebody who's been reading tarot for a while, I hope you find a nugget of information in here that may help you add more nuance and depth to whatever card you are reading. So anyway, since the tarot a lot of times starts with the Fool, we're going to start with the Fool. However, in the Marseille deck, and we're starting with the Marseille deck because this is the deck that basically started divination, right? The Etia, oh, he was a French occultist whose name I cannot pronounce. He took the playing cards from the game Tarocchi or Trifoni, I'm not sure which one, I believe it's Trifoni, and he started using them for divination. And that is when the Marseille deck was created, I believe. But in the Marseille deck, the characters represented are everyday people, right? So you would see the Fool, the Magician, the Charioteer, the Empress, the Emperor. These are people that lived in everyday life in the Renaissance times. So that's sort of where this imagery comes from. Now, this Fool looks very similar to the Rider Waite Smith, and that's probably because Pamela Coleman Smith and A.E. Waite took inspiration from this. But here it's sort of like a dog, but a cat. And I can't get quite a clear answer on if this is a dog or a cat. I'm pretty sure it's a dog, but I'm not sure. We see him tearing at the Fool's pants. We see the Fool. He's sort of in tattered clothing. He doesn't seem to care, though. He's just marching on his merry way. Um, but this card in the Marseille deck comes at the end of the deck. And a lot of times, the Fool in the Rider Waite Smith, when you open the deck, it starts with the Fool. And it makes sense because this is a card that can be the beginning or it can be an ending. And I'll explain more about that in a second. But this is the beginning of a journey, right? The Fool is read of as taking a risk, a leap of faith, a flight of fancy. It's a new phase in life, a new beginning. It's a very positive card, optimistic. It can be about being too naive, jumping in without looking, acting a fool, literally. And sometimes we have to act a fool in order to take a risk that will pay out. Um, Optimism, all those keywords are associated with the Fool. Now, here in the Tarot de Marseille, it is Lamat. There is no number. Okay, there is no zero. It's just Lamat. And that means dull, or it's the dullard in French. And sometimes it's le fou, which is the insane. And many spiritual traditions link madness with higher wisdom. So while he may look like he is not living his best life, he actually is, because he knows he doesn't need much in order to be happy and to start a new journey, right? Now, in the Golden Dawn tradition, they see the Fool as the highest attainment of consciousness. And in this deck, it is card number 0. Therefore, it can be the beginning or it can be the end, as the circle is never ending. And he is definitely more finely dressed, so it feels more rich than it does here. The white rose, I believe, symbolizes pure intention. Roses symbolize passion in the tarot, but here, since it's white, white is the color of purity. They both have a stick, a wand with a bag, and the bag is what we bring with us, right? The lessons we bring with us from previous journeys, the lessons we bring with us from previous trials. It could also be about literally not needing much in order to start again. You don't need much to be happy. You don't need much to start on a new path. You just need that intention, that drive. We see the dog or the dog cat here. With this card, I don't know much about this one, but with this one, I believe I read this is somewhere at one point that this is a white Spitz, and they were dogs of, what was it? Oh my God, why am I losing my word right now? Protectors, like warning. They would like protect their owner. And so it can be seen as a protector, making sure he doesn't take too big of a risk. But I also see it as a dependent, right? If we see this fool, he's about to walk off this cliff, this dog is looking up at the fool. And whatever he or she does, this dog looks like it's going to do the same thing. So it's okay to take a risk, but you have to make sure that if you're going to take that risk, is there anybody else that's depending on you that that risk could be affecting? So I read it that way sometimes too. It's also seen as a companion in some books that I've read. So the fool, there's definitely a sense of freedom. And even though there's some baggage, some things he's taking with him or her, uh, they're not encumbered by any responsibility. There is complete and total freedom in what they do. And sometimes, in order to have that complete and total freedom, it really does take an attainment of higher consciousness to not allow yourself to be held back by anybody else's expectations or words or opinions on what you should be doing. The fool marches to the beat of their own drummer, and these wands are indicative of movement, taking action, and doing. They're not just sitting idly by, thinking I should do this or could I do this. They're just going to do it, and it takes a lot of courage to be the fool because it asks us to step out and away from what we have always known. So with that said, this is the Tarot de Marseille and the Rider-Waite-Smith. And if you are a beginner, I urge you to purchase one of these decks and start learning with these decks, because these are truly foundational decks. And if you can read these decks backwards and forwards, you're going to be able to read almost any other deck that is out there without problem. And I know I hear a lot of times people saying, this deck doesn't resonate with me, that deck doesn't resonate with me, but these are your foundational decks. And if you're just doing tarot for fun and you want to use a reference book when you read, that's fine. But if you truly want to learn and understand tarot, I really do urge you to consider picking up one of these decks and learning with them, and look at it as this is your school, right? You have all your fun decks that you can use later on, but you have to go to school before you can have fun, right? So this is your school. This is your foundational knowledge that you're going to use. So in just a second, I'm going to lay out a whole bunch of fools, and then we're just going to talk about them a little bit. Okay, so my highlighter out of the way. So we have a whole bunch of different fools here, and the lighting has changed, so I apologize for any glare. The sun was way too strong outside. So this is from the El Goliath Tarot. This is from the Alchemical Tarot, the Eclectic Tarot, the Tarot de Saint Croix, the Oak, Ash, and Thorn Tarot, Tarot de Marseille, the Liminal Tarot, the Thoth, the Shimmering Veil, the Dark Mansion, and of course the Rider-Waite-Smith. So I just pulled out a sampling of different fools from all those different decks just to kind of compare and contrast and show you that how much easier it's going to be to read these cards from other creators when you understand the fool in the foundational decks. Okay. So this fool from the El Goliath Tarot, it's this timid little mouse taking a huge risk. And even though he is probably aware of the risks associated with this leap, being such a small creature taking such a large leap, it feels like he is quite happy doing it, because this is probably one of the biggest things this mouse has ever done. That's kind of how I see this. He doesn't look scared. He looks like he's free. She, they, it looks like it's free from whatever was causing it fear up here. It has just decided to take this plunge, and it could have even have been running from something, but realizing that taking that leap is what's going to bring about the change in its life that it needs to get to where it wants to go. And that's how I see this card. This Fool from the Alchemical Tarot, I could not find the book for this deck. I wish I could. I think it's out of print, so there's few and far between. But there's a star, there's two feathers in the cap. This Fool is blindfolded. There's a rabbit hole. There's the wand in its hand, in this guy's hand. And rabbits in tarot can mean abundance. So he's about to go down a rabbit hole of abundance, right? He's about to go down this rabbit hole where he may find the abundance he's looking for, but he has to blindly, he may be blindly taking this leap, not knowing where it's taking him. And he's trusting that what he's doing is going to bring about the end results that he may have been looking for. The red and the white, I'm assuming maybe that has to do with like pure drive, pure passion. Red being, associated with fire, white with purity and pure intention. Hopes and dreams associated with the star. So I kind of read all of those into this card, and what I know about this Fool I apply here, but then I may read it in a different way than I would here because of the other symbolism. Now, these two Fools are very similar. This is from the Thoth, and this is from the Eclectic Tarot, which is Thoth inspired deck, I believe. It's one of my newer decks, so I haven't worked with it too much yet. Both have cats biting the leg instead of a dog, which is more similar to the Tarot de Marseille. There's crocodiles in both of these, and according to Alexander Crowley, I believe he wrote this about the Thoth, is it was believed that crocodiles could not perpetuate the species, and because of this, it was a symbol of maximum creative energy, and it represents the god Sebek. And this is what Crowley wrote about the crocodile. So this is maximum creative potential, right? And maximum creative energy, and the potential is there, but you have to sort of take that leap in order to activate that creative power. And sometimes, the cat, and if anybody knows Thoth and what the cat represents in the Thoth deck, please let me know. I'm studying this deck in the second part of this year, but to me, I see it as being like bitten. And it's like, now I have to do it, like being sort of compelled to take that leap, take that jump. You're being bitten by, like being bitten by a bug that you're like, I have to go do it now. So that's sort of what that feels like to me. It feels very powerful. It feels very strong. It feels like a very strong drive to find that thing that may have been missing, right? It's this new journey. There's pyramid. It looks like these could be mountains. It could be pyramids. I'm not sure. So I'm not going to speak to that. But here we also see grapes, which symbolize abundance in tarot, similar to, and this fertility. Sorry, rabbits symbolize fertility, not abundance. This grapes symbolize abundance. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, fertility. So this new journey and going down the rabbit hole can bring about a very fertile period of time. The butterflies represent freedom. They can represent the sign of air. We have the caduceus in here. I mean, this is just so chock full of symbolism. It's crazy, which it can be really overwhelming. That's why, like, if you start with the Thoth, good on you. But it can be really overwhelming when it's so symbolically heavy if you don't understand your basics in the beginning. Not for everybody, but in my opinion. This is the Fool from the Tarot de Saint Croix. And it's a very different Fool. Very, very different Fool from this Fool. Like, these, I can see similarities, but like these two are very, very different. Here we see somebody in black and white, symbolizing duality. with a dog on its head or a wolf head, with making shadow puppets, right? He's about to go explore his shadow side. It could be the wand is against the wall, so he hasn't taken action quite yet. Seems like he's still trying to figure it all out. But the path here leads to the moon and a boat that is about to take him or her on this journey into the subconscious. This Fool from the Oak, Ash, and Thorn Tarot has the butterfly, which can symbolize the air, can symbolize freedom. The wand, again, is not picked up yet. The bag is there. This is a baby deer. And what I love about this deck is it ends with the world, which is like an adult deer sort of passing the torch on to a baby. So it feels like the world is this deer having grown up and gone through this journey. So this is the beginning. This is the baby stage of this journey you're about to embark on. And you're still in the dark, but you know that what you're about to embark on can lead to great freedoms. The liminal tarot, pretty similar to the traditional meanings, except here he's flying a kite. And it feels like this fool, like he or she is about to fall off this cliff. What's interesting is there's this snail, and it's interesting because I just noticed this recently. And it's like, how does the speed of a snail play into this? And I have to do more thinking about that. But I'd love to hear your opinions on it. The dog is trying to, like, it feels like, hold the fool back with the kite tail instead of actually holding on to the fool or biting the fool. But it does seem like this dog is trying to take care of this fool rather than here where the dog looks like it's depending on its owner, its companion, to make the next decision. And here we have the Shimmering Veil Tarot, which is one of my favorite decks. And it's very, very simple, very, very pared back, very abstract in some ways. You have, the essence of the Fool. You have the butterfly, the symbol of freedom, of air. The Fool's about to walk off the cliff, but you can read so much into this card if you have extensive knowledge of all of these other cards. Like, it feels to me like this embodies all of these. And that is what I adore about this deck. And I think it wasn't until I started collecting decks and studying decks that I had the appreciation, or was able to have the appreciation for this deck that I have now. But it's so simple. It's just such a simple Fool. And I love the simplicity in it. And then this is from one of my all-time favorite decks, the Dark Mansion Tarot. It's just a silly, fun deck, but gives amazingly good reads. Here we see the Fool literally like, here I am. I'm about to just walk off this cliff. I'm not looking where I'm going. I'm just going. And the dog here really is trying to be the protector, hold the Fool back. It's kind of like almost our rational mind and our irrational mind fighting with each other. And obviously, the Fool is going to win, most likely, because I don't think this dog is big enough to hold the Fool back. But, our instincts are always there, and our rational side is always there. Our domesticated side is always there. And our domesticated side, to me, sometimes feels like that rational side. This is what we should do, right? This is what we should do. But this is what we're supposed to do. So I found that interesting. But yeah, that's the Fool. And I had something I was just about to say, and I totally had a blank. But this is why it's awesome having so many decks, because there's so many different ways to see the Fool, and all these cards are other artists and creators' interpretation of these two cards. And I do think now, I've said it before, but a lot of decks are just being created to create. A lot of the people creating these decks don't have a real knowledge or understanding of the tarot. So I find all these decks that I just talked about, and I have the ones that I use now, generally you can see that the artist has has knowledge of the tarot, but I think it's very important when you're buying a deck to make sure that it's going to be a deck that you like and that you're going to be able to easily read. Because I have a couple decks that I absolutely love. I literally collected them for the art, but it's apparent that the artist doesn't really understand tarot. They're creating the deck because it's a really cool way to express their art, and it absolutely is, but a lot of the cards miss the mark on what on how to interpret, or being able to interpret the card. So maybe I'll talk about those decks one day, but this isn't what this is about. So that's the Fool. I'm going to start talking because stop talking because now I'm just rambling. Um, Let me know if you like this, if this is something you'd be interested in me continuing. I also do this because it's another way for me to continue my education on tarot, and this doing this kind of a video is going to help keep me accountable for my own personal tarot studies. So with that said, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you later. Bye.